All the real heads should be yelling. Spooky. All the DJs should be playing. Spooky. All the MCs don't be hating. Spooky. We spit fire, that's why our tracks be blazing. Hey yo, I snatch your spine out and hand it to you.
All right, hello, hip hop heads and horror fans. This is your host, 7 Octoberz, here with another episode on Nightmare on Sedgwick Avenue podcast, season 2, episode 3. Today, I'm very excited to bring along our special guest. He is a director and producer, Luis Iga Garza, who just directed the movie Murder in the Woods, that stars legendary Danny Trejo and a lot of an all Latino cast, which is, I believe, the first horror film that does this. So, without further ado, I'm gonna bring him here on the screen here. Hello, Luis.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having me.
joining. Hey, thank you. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Usually, what I'll do is the intro. I'll have you tell us a little bit about yourself for those that might not know who you are yet. Where you're from and how you started filmmaking, directing, and how long have you been doing that?
Okay. So I was born and raised in Mexico, in the north part. It's called Saltillo. It's close to Monterrey, about 3 hours from the border in Texas, Laredo.
Okay. Okay.
So um, then, since I was a little kid, so I was like 7 years old, when I saw Star Wars, I fell in
Mhm.
love with with the make believe aspect of filmmaking. Especially, I grew up building models, um, and just seeing that all the movie was made all with models,
Yeah.
so it just grabbed my attention. So since then, I wanted to be a filmmaker,
Okay.
um, and yeah, and then I came to the United States when I was 17, and I finished high school here, and then ended up going to college here, and yeah, and then I was able to fulfill my dream of going to USC in 20. I started 2011, and I graduated in 2015,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and yeah, and then since then, um, it's just been. We shot this movie in 2015,
Okay.
but now it's getting out because it's an independent film.
Hmm.
It's a very low budget, so that's how long it takes to get an independent project off the ground.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a long
So
time.
yeah, especially the distribution aspect was the challenging part because a lot of studios didn't get the movie.
Okay.
So
And
because in this,
who was your distribution for this one, for this film?
I ended up doing it myself. So
Oh, okay.
I opened a distribution company, and I learned the whole theatrical distribution business, and um and the digital distribution business as well. So before I was a filmmaker, I had about 10 years experience in marketing and advertising.
Oh,
So because
okay.
that's what I did for undergrad. So
Okay.
everything you see of the movie, the graphics, the poster,
Hmm.
it was done by me.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's pretty cool.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. And you obviously mentioned Star Wars. That's one of the films that kind of got you into filmmaking. But is there anyone besides that, anybody in specific, or any movie besides Star Wars that got you to fall in love with cinema?
Well, I mean, since then, I mean, all the ones with the visual effects, like another, like in Mexico, I used to watch El Santo,
Okay.
a lot of El Santo movies, and I
Yeah.
really like the ones that have like the slasher vibe. I mean, they're B type movies, and
Yeah.
the one like against Las Momias de Guanajuato, the ones against Las Mujeres Vampiro,
Yeah.
that's I really started falling in love with this genre, and then when I was a teenager, I watched a lot of the slashers, from from John Carpenter and Wes Craven, and I really like that because horror movies have you tense all the time, where
Yeah.
slashers are funny, quirky, but they also scare you. So I feel it's more of like a roller coaster ride, that it's scary moments, but also it's fun moments.
Yeah. That's true.
And it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
We did it. The writer and my producing partner, she's also Latina,
Hmm.
and we always grew up watching these slashers, but we never saw ourselves represented on the big screen. So we saw an opportunity there to tell our stories, and and also from the storytelling aspect of it, you
Hmm.
can see that a lot of movies that are out there that try to um, embed our culture, you can automatically
Yeah.
see that it was done with a Google search. They don't
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
it doesn't have the really the experience behind them,
Yeah.
and the knowledge of, that's why it's so important to have people behind the screen, diversity behind and in front of the screen, because you're
Exactly.
going to get different perspectives.
Exactly. It's more authentic, like you said. It's not like something like you googled on the internet.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's interesting. And you mentioned like El Santo films and all that because I grew up watching like 80s like slashers, like you said. Is there any like favorite like Mexican movie directors that like stand out to you, like that
Well, I
you got
mean,
inspired by?
obviously, my favorite Mexican director would be Guillermo del Toro. I mean, I think
Yeah.
his imagination is incredible, and what he's done with with the genre
Yeah.
of monsters. And I
Mhm.
mean, I went to see his exhibit when he was here in LA, and he's a brilliant mind. He's
Yeah.
also like a very humble, really cool person. So that's, he's my favorite of the Mexicans right now.
Cool, cool. And then I was watching another interview of yours, where you mentioned that you entered like the film festival like circuit, right, to try to promote your film and everything. Like, how did that go, and how did you get into like the festivals and all that?
So we submitted the movie to a lot of festivals, and the first one that we got into was the Guadalajara International Film Festival here in LA.
Okay.
So we actually, because we weren't completely done with the movie, we still needed to do color. We ended
Okay.
up showcasing in 2017 in November the movie, but without color correction. And people really liked it. So then we ended up finishing the movie in 2018, and we went to more festivals all of 2018.
Okay.
And then we were going to release the movie in 2019, but the financing for the distribution fell through.
Yeah.
And then I was able to get it for 2020, and then we were going to go out in more screens, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh,
So
okay.
we had to we were then just going to go on VOD,
Hmm.
but then the opportunity presented itself to go into theaters again, and we decided to do that.
Yeah.
And we're going to go back into theaters this weekend, October 23rd, for the
Oh,
Halloween
okay.
season.
Cool. Is it gonna be just like in because I know it was like drive-through theaters, right? Is it gonna be drive-through again, or is it actually gonna be like the physical theaters?
No, it's going to be hard tops, yeah, physical theaters. We
Okay.
we are in, for example, we're in Santikos in San Antonio. We are in Malco theaters and Marcus theaters in various parts of the country, um, and like in the Chicago area, we are
Yeah.
in a lot of places. In California, the closest to LA is Corona.
Okay.
We're also going to be in all the Maya cinemas that are open right now, which is in Las Vegas, Bakersfield, Delano, Pittsburgh. So yeah, so we're very excited because also the movie, we dubbed it into Spanish.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
so the audience, and we're sending the movie to the theaters in both languages so they can decide to program it in English or Spanish according to their audience.
Oh, that's pretty
Uh,
dope.
yeah.
That's interesting. And then so like I said, Murder in the Woods. That's the film we're discussing. For people tuning in. And this is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the first like all Latino cast in a horror film. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the first All American slasher with a full
Yeah.
Latino and people of color cast. The
Yeah.
only one that is not Latino, but he's also, minority and diversity.
Yeah.
Cade Wise, he plays Jewel. He's from Algeria.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we're the first slasher.
Like
You can
American.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, in English,
Yeah.
American, where you can see Latinos and people of color playing lead roles, throughout the movie, having arcs,
Yeah.
not just playing, having a couple of lines here and there. Like if you remember the slashers, from Wes Craven, and like I Scream, I Know What You Last Summer, they always had like one, you know, uh,
Minority.
person of color
Yeah.
there, right? And it was the first one that got killed.
Yeah.
So now in this movie, you don't know who's gonna get killed first because they're all brown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I liked about it too. It was like it wasn't like your stereotypical either. Like like La Chola or El Cholo or where they know us by in Hollywood. So I thought that was cool because it was characters that actually I could like relate to, or like I have friends that I'll be like, okay, that's like my one of my friends. So I thought that was really cool how you guys did that. And you mentioned that I think it's Yelena de Leon who
Uh-huh.
wrote the film. How did that get inspired? Was it because I believe you said something that was inspired like on a real story or something like that?
Well, no, so what happened was, so we were doing a project prior to this together based on the true story of a domestic violence survivor.
Okay.
And then, but we needed a bigger budget for it. So as I was pitching to investors,
Hmm.
um, and it's also the movie is all financed and the distribution by all Latinos as well. So
Okay.
it's also an example when Latinos stick together, we can make amazing things.
Yeah, I
Instead
agree.
of like not instead of hating on each other, like
Yeah.
actually sticking and helping each other. So then the investors were like, well, how we have this much money, what can you do with this? And they said, and then I told them, I have a horror script, which I didn't at the time, but Yelena and I had already spoken about our love for the slasher genre.
Yeah.
And so I called her up and like, hey, we have to do a horror script. So we literally got together in a coffee shop out of like, sounds cliche, but
Yeah.
we did that. And then on a napkin, we started writing that, outlining what the story is going to be. Our resources, putting our resources together. She's an actress as well, so she
Okay.
had worked before with Chelsea, which she introduced to me, and a lot of the shorts that I did while I was in school, Chelsea's part of.
Oh, okay.
Um, so that's how we ended up developing it, and then then we ended up shooting it in February of 2015. So it's been
Okay.
almost a 6 year journey.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean most films, independent films, take a long time
Yeah.
um, to do, just because again there's a lot of even though now it's a lot easier, you have a lot of more tools in your
Hmm.
fingertips. Like I ended up, so we had an editor, Ryan, edit the movie, but then we didn't have a lot more money left, so I had to take it over. So I finished the editing process. A lot of the VFX shots I did, and then Phil, one of my classmates at USC, helped me with the other ones. So so it's a big collaboration. That's where if you see the credits at the end, the thank you list is huge.
Yeah. That's cool. So pretty much kind of like the story got inspired by domestic violence and then it kind of morphed into this film, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, because we were working on that world.
Hmm.
So when Yelena and I talked about it, we wanted to shine a little bit of that light into it without so that's a bit of the backstory about this, the
Okay.
characters here. I mean, I don't know if we want spoilers or no spoilers,
Yeah.
but
I know, right? Yeah. Yeah, whatever you want to share for people. But
yeah, I mean, I think we'll do another one later. We'll have more spoilers because the movie's still
yeah,
fresh, because
exactly.
again, our marketing budget is not huge,
Hmm.
so a lot of people don't know about this movie yet. So
Exactly.
that's why we need people to like spread the word, write reviews. Reviews are very important in like Rotten Tomatoes and all those um,
Like independent blogs and stuff like that,
independent
right?
blogs
Yeah.
and also the big ones though.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
we've gotten huge support from independent bloggers like you,
Yeah,
and that's amazing because that's we don't have money but we have people, right? So
exactly.
that's the power that we have is the just like to making the movie, it was a huge collaboration. Also, the spreading the word about the movie has been a huge collaboration from
Yeah.
bloggers like you guys, because it's hard. It takes a lot of
Hmm.
money and a lot of push to get into the mainstream media,
That's
like
true.
Rotten Tomatoes and Fandango and all that. So
Yeah.
so that's why we just have to push and utilize the resources that we have.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have obviously like one of the like a big star, Danny Trejo. So I was gonna ask you about that as well. Like you mentioned, the cast is phenomenal. You have like Chelsea Rendon from Vida, which I love that show. Jeanette Samano, Jose Julian, which was in A Better Life, and then Kate Wise you mentioned,
Yeah,
Katarina or Catherine Toribio, which was I think
Toribio.
right, who was in the Paranormal Marked Ones. I forgot she was on that one,
Yeah,
Paranormal
yeah,
Activity, and then. Jordan Diambrini. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name
yeah.
right.
Diamrini, yeah.
So really dope cast, but obviously the one that stands out is Danny Trejo. How did that come about?
Since we were developing the story, when we were thinking about Sheriff Lorenzo, we Yelena and I said it has to be Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
Like there's we that's the only role that we didn't hold any auditions or anything. We just said we had to be him. So as soon as we said that, we started the journey in the search of, you
Yeah.
know, to get to know him, who's his manager, who's his agent and all that stuff. So we
Hmm.
ended up going to a party where he was going to be present, and I met his assistant, his right hand, which is
Hmm.
Michael, and he was really helpful. And then he introduced me to Gloria, who's his agent, and then
Hmm.
we started the talks about it. But we were like 3 days away. I think we were like 4 or 5 days away of needing him,
Hmm.
and we still didn't have him. I mean, the offer was out and everything, but he's a very busy man. When he's
Yeah.
not shooting a movie, he's at the time he was starting his taco business and all
Hmm.
that, so he was
Okay.
busy. And so Yelena ended up running into him
Okay.
and in a restaurant, and then talked to him. He's like, "Hey, you got the offer and everything." He's like, "Oh yeah, when do you guys need me?" And
Yeah.
ended up, and then he ended up becoming a part of the show. So we're very thankful for his, for supporting. I mean, he's been an
Yeah.
awesome. Because like I said, it's a low budget movie. If I tell you that, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, think of me like Robert Rodriguez in a way.
Yeah.
He's one of my inspirations as
Yeah.
well. When he made El Mariachi, he just had an idea. He grabbed his camera and his friends and his crew and just shot it, got it done. So
Yeah.
that was the idea. That was the drive behind this movie.
Yeah.
So for me, he's also one of my inspirations as well.
Yeah.
So that's how we got Danny involved, and then he was great to have him on set. He's such a veteran,
Yeah.
and he's always a springboard. He's awesome at being a springboard for new talent. In front of the camera and behind the camera, he's super supportive of Latinos,
Yeah.
and not only Latinos, other directors and, and,
Hmm.
and actors, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen his documentary, in May number one, but
Oh
it
no.
has a lot of information about him. I already knew, but I'm so
Uh-huh.
happy that it's out there in his
Yeah.
documentary. And it's like what he said is like, everything good that has happened to me is because a good deed that I did, right?
Hmm.
So whenever he went to help a friend, he ended up meeting somebody that got him an opportunity and things like that. So he's a
Yeah.
very he's very thankful,
Yeah.
and so he's all about paying it forward.
That's good. Yeah, like it looks like he's willing to work with like people that are not well known to give him an opportunity, right? So that's pretty cool that he decided
Yeah,
to be part of
exactly.
this project. Um, and then this movie, like you said, it's like a slasher. It's kind of like it's fun. So it has its funny moments, obviously serious as well. But um, it reminded me a little bit. It took me back a little bit to like Friday the 13th a little bit.
Yeah.
But also like the Mexican slashers, like I don't know if you remember like Cementerio del Terror and
Cementerio del
uh,
Terror, yeah.
right and Trampa Infernal and all that stuff. So it kind of brought me that vibe, which was cool. Because I grew up watching those films as a kid. What movie? Dude, is there any specific movies that maybe inspired a little bit of this film or anything like that?
I mean, I think I think the most it would be like Scream. From it was we took it more from the slasher genre, from like Wes Craven and
Okay.
and and John Carpenter, just because
Okay.
we wanted to make it, again, more of a Hollywood movie
Uh huh.
that happened to have Latinos, right?
Yeah.
So we you can see a lot of like some of The Shining,
Mhm.
from Kubrick. You see some of Scream, La
Yeah.
Noche La Summer, The Hills Have Eyes,
Yeah.
Gothica. Some things were inspired by those movies, and then some from Las Mujeres Vampiro, I think. So
Okay.
that's where I kind of wanted to ground it.
Yeah.
And again, the usually when you're making movies, of genre films, especially, you always, your goal is to, how do you challenge the genre? What is different about this movie?
Exactly.
And the way we challenged the genre was with the casting.
Yeah.
So it's never been done before. the story, this story, it's a familiar slasher story in many ways. However, we do have some twists and turns that people don't expect,
Exactly.
which also makes it original. But our
Mhm.
biggest challenge to the genre was making something where Latinos would have a and people of color would have a chance to shine and
Yeah.
have full complete arcs
Yeah.
in the story, have depth and get to know them. Like I said, in most movies, we don't get to know them. They have like a couple lines here, a couple lines there, or they're in the hood, they're cholos, or
Mhm.
they're they just cross the border. So very stereotypical. So we
Yeah.
wanted to shine completely away from that and make it real, right?
Yeah.
So like the scene with Nana and the altar de muertos and all that. I mean, that's real. I mean, that's part of our
Exactly.
culture. We grew up with that.
Yeah.
The stories, el chupacabras, el cucuy, la llorona, like
Yeah.
we, that's the stories that your parents or your grandparents tell you to scare you so you don't do bad things, right? It's like, oh, if you
Exactly.
go out after 10 p.m., la llorona is gonna come and get you, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
my god, So, so that's that's what we wanted to to organically embed into this
Yeah.
movie without hitting you in the head.
Yeah, I definitely got that from the characters. Like, one thing, like when I did my review, was that I noticed that even though they were like interpreted as like Mexican actors, I believe, or Mexican Americans, none of them actually really spoke Spanish. Like here and there, I think you got like a couple Spanish lines, but most of them were like kind of Chicanos, which was kind of
Yeah,
cool, right? Even the prayer scene where they start doing the prayer, and I thought they was gonna do like Padre Nuestro in Spanish, but they ended up doing it in English. So I thought
yeah.
that was interesting.
No, because it's like Jose Julian says in that scene. You're like, I don't know, it's in Spanish,
Yeah,
right? It's like a lot of people assume just because you're Latino,
yeah,
you're gonna speak English. I mean, you're gonna speak
speak
Spanish,
Spanish.
and
Yeah.
it's not true. I mean, a lot of a lot of the people that migrated here.
Mhm.
First of all, I mean, like there's some people that have been in the U.S. for generations. There's Latinos that be here for generations, and
Yeah.
they didn't move here. The border went down, right?
Yeah.
Right? The when California used to be part of Mexico and
Yes.
Arizona and Colorado, right? So
Mhm.
I met people here in California that they've been here for their families been here for centuries, and the border moved, right? So they're still
Yeah.
Latinos. They have Latino culture. Some speak Spanish, some don't. There's others that their parents migrated here, and because the parents felt the racism against they felt they made fun of because they had an accent. They
Yeah.
made fun of because they spoke a different language. So they decided not to teach their kids Spanish,
That's
right?
true.
Because they're like, I don't want my kid to have the same
Experience and everything.
experience that I
Yeah.
have, right? So
Yeah.
so I think that, and that's another part that is real about the movie, right? It's like a lot
Mhm.
of it's like they're American. They
Yeah.
just happen to have a certain background, but like
Exactly.
Jose Julian said it. It's like I don't know. It's in Spanish.
Yeah.
I'm living it right now with my nieces. My brother has 3 kids,
Yeah.
and he lives in Virginia, and he married an American girl, and so the kids are like, when they were little they were learning Spanish, but then they're like, I don't want to learn Spanish, like people make fun of me, and they
Yeah.
start like shying away from it.
Yeah.
So even though you want to push the other language on them, a lot of times they're not receptive. So
That's true. Yeah, I
so that's why
agree.
the reality of it.
Yeah. Exactly. So and then this movie obviously is a horror slasher. Did you want to continue doing that genre, that type of horror movies, or did you want to move into something else eventually as a
Well,
director?
I mean, again, one of my biggest inspirations is Spielberg, and I think he's been able to touch every genre,
Yeah.
right? So that's my goal. Is just as long as there's good stories, things that I want to experiment. I love experimenting with new things. That's what I love about this industry is you don't get bored because it's not like the same thing over and over again. Everything you meet different people. Every project, you work with different cinematographers. So you're always meeting new people. You're always building relationships, or
Yeah.
you're always putting various minds together to create something. So
Yeah.
I do love shooting slashers because they're a lot of fun. Like it's so funny because they're scary, but when you're on set, you're just laughing.
Yeah. Because you know all the tricks, right?
Yeah, but also like like again, especially when you're like low budget, um you only have like a two shirts that you can get dirty,
Yeah.
right? So you have to get it in that shot where the
Yeah.
blood's gonna splatter or whatever, right? or the blood was supposed to go to the right, and to one side and went to the other, and so everybody starts laughing and things like that. So
Yeah.
or you're there and all of a sudden Danny Trejo starts saying some crazy line
Yeah.
after we say cut,
Yeah.
right? And he just starts like, so it's fun.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fun to shoot, and I think most scary movies are actually fun to shoot because, especially if there's a lot of practical effects, because
Yeah.
that's where a lot of things can go wrong, especially on the low budget side. So I think I do want to continue. There's another movie that I'm pitching right now
Hmm.
that happens in New Orleans. It's also a diverse cast,
Okay.
but this time, we included everybody: uh, Latinos, African Americans, whites, Asians. Like we wanted to make a story that embodied every connected every race, every background
Yeah.
into a story. And it's cool because it's inspired by the Hellfire Club, which was a kind of like a underground, kind of like the Illuminati,
Oh,
like
okay. Like a
underground,
cult, like a.
like a cult, yeah.
Okay.
And they did a lot of bad things to the slaves
Oh,
back in the
okay.
day. So that's the other project that I'm started to pitch right now.
Oh, that's interesting. And do you want to continue to do that? Like, because I noticed you want to do continue to like break barriers in like Hollywood, which is interesting. Do you want to like, is that what you want to be known for a little bit in your as a director?
Well, not. I mean, that's my goal, just to give
Mm-hmm.
opportunities and to. However, no. I mean, I just want to make good stuff. I want to be known because I can, direct, I can produce, I can, entertain.
Yeah.
Uh, However, if while I'm doing that, I'm able to give opportunity to other Latinos and people of color,
Yeah.
right? Diversity, because there's a lot of great talent, and not only Latinos, African Americans, Asians. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm actually half Middle Eastern.
Okay.
My
Interesting.
grandparents were born in Bethlehem, and they migrated to Mexico. So
Okay.
half Mexican, half Middle Eastern. At the
Uh-huh.
blood level.
Yeah.
But so again, it's there's a lot of talent, and also behind the camera, because again, we have different experiences. We give different perspectives to the
Yeah.
way we tell a story. That again, that cannot be replicated with a Google search.
Exactly. And you obviously worked on this project with with Yelena. You went to school with her. How did you guys meet, and do you guys still want to collaborate in future projects and stuff like that?
So yeah, so we met. I was already at USC, and she was first semester. And usually, when you're shooting projects,
Hmm.
the students that have more time are the first semester level ones, because they're first semester, so they're getting, and they want to get hands-on experience from like more experienced classmates, right? Because we've been there longer. So I was going out. We were shooting a short film, an advanced project. There was a it took place in the Holocaust in Romania.
Okay.
So we needed to recreate Romania in LA, 1940s. So we needed a lot of hands and a lot of help. So that's how we met. I went to a mixer, and I was recruiting first semester students to work on this movie, and that's how we met, and we started talking. We were one of the only few Latinos at the
Okay.
time, in the program, in the master's program. So that's how relationship started. And then this domestic violence idea, I met uh, the the relative of the domestic violence survivor that wanted to
Hmm.
tell her story. So I thought of her because I knew she also had friends that had been in that world of domestic violence. So we have direct connection to people that have been through that world. So to give it
Okay.
that authenticity, so that's how we started collaborating. And then the opportunity of Murder in the Woods came about, so we did that. And
Yeah.
then and then we're just waiting for hopefully the movie picks up and people want a sequel and something,
Yeah.
so that's what we're waiting for, that hopefully we can work and get again on that together.
Okay. And for the film, who did like the makeup effects and stuff like that? Was it just you guys and stuff like that, or?
No, so we had an amazing team of VFX artists that helped us out.
Okay.
So yeah, so I mean, I help with some of the stuff because uh, I love a lot of the props that we use, like the axe and the blood was from a short film that I produced, a zombie that short that I produced when I was at USC for one of my classmates,
Okay.
and so the body parts and things like that. So I think, um, but then we had an awesome team
Yeah.
that it was able to help us because we were I usually like to be more hands on because again I love using my hands and growing up I used to make my own makeup for Halloween and get the bullet holes and this
Yeah.
the prosthetics and all that.
Yeah.
um, and so when I was producing that short, I met a guy from Mexico that worked for a prop house here that they did all the body parts. They did the blood. He had his own formula for blood that is clean. It actually washes off.
Oh wow.
So it was really cool.
Mhm.
So I was able to utilize the experience that I got at USC. And then I ended up directing another horror one as well, another short. It's called Looking for Protection,
Okay.
and it was also like a slasher fun, making fun of the genre,
Yeah.
and the how do you call it, the the stereotypes and archetypes
Yeah.
that the genre has. It's not stereotypes, the archetypes that the genre has itself.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. Looking for protection, we entered in, we never enter into festivals. We never because it was right after I finished that movie, that short. The opportunity for Murder in the Woods came about, so we got really busy with that.
Yeah.
Uh, but that's something that I keep thinking about. Putting that out there.
Yeah.
It's a funny movie because we're
Yeah.
not supposed to. Part of the extras of the class is that it couldn't be any dialogue.
Oh, okay. So it's
So
all it's all silent.
not, yeah, I mean you have the sound effects and everything,
Yeah.
but not dialogue.
People talking. Okay. That's pretty interesting. And what are like your top, like for you, your top favorite like 5 horror movies for you?
Ooh, top five. I mean, I love The Shining. I mean, I think that's The Shining. I, I really enjoy that movie. I don't know if you ever saw El Orfanato.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that one. That was creepy.
I love like the orphanage. They had awesome twist in terms that you were not expecting.
Yeah.
I have to say, from like the more slashery gore, I would say The Hills Have Eyes. I really enjoy that movie, and obviously the classics. I mean, Halloween.
Mhm.
I saw a screen at USC with John Carpenter, and it was just
That's pretty cool.
amazing. He actually went to USC and he told us how he made the movie, and actually his classmate was there, the one that played uh, um, oh my god,
Was it
not
Jamie Lee
Jason,
Curtis? It was it
no,
Jamie Lee Curtis or no?
not Jamie Lee Curtis, no, the played Michael
Oh, okay, okay.
Mask, yeah, yeah. So that was a lot of fun to to meet him,
That's pretty
and I
cool.
would, and also I mean, and then I would say a lot of the Santo movies, Las Mujeres Vampiro, Las Momias. I think they're
Yeah.
my two favorite. Um, and I would say, I love. I don't know if this would be a horror movie. I mean, it's more fantasy, but Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Uh, I think I really enjoy that movie. So I think those are my, I would say, top. And then on the slashers, I mean, I just love Scream and I Know What You Last Summer
Yeah.
because it just brings so much great memories.
Yeah.
Because I was a teenager, that's you would bring girls on dates to see those
Yeah.
movies, and you. So I think that for me was the what also. So it's because they bring good memories. I
Yeah.
link them to good experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said, Murder in the Woods has like that vein from, you can tell that you are a fan of those movies because this kind of touched on it a little bit. Like you said, it gives you like Scream vibes and stuff like that. Um, and then kind of moving on a little bit away from the movie a little bit, I like to ask this question to my guests. Do you believe in like the supernatural, and have you ever had any experiences and any that you want to share?
Yeah, no, I do believe in supernatural. I mean, I do believe, uh, you know, I mean, I'm not sensitive to
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
However, I know people that are very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
I have like, an example. So when I was in New Orleans, when I was in Louisiana, I was there as an exchange student. That's where I finished high school.
Okay.
It's right outside New Orleans, called Slidell,
Okay.
Louisiana. So one of the one of the my host father, one of the families I stayed there, his ex-wife was super sensitive. So we actually went into a haunted tour into New Orleans, because New Orleans has awesome haunted tours, because it has a lot of haunted places.
Yeah.
Because of the fires that were, burned half the city down, so a lot of people died and animals, and it's insane. So we go to this haunted tour with her,
Mhm.
and so what they do in the tour is, like, before the guide tells you anything about it, he has you, like, close your eyes, relax, and, like, see if you can feel any energy, anything.
Yeah.
And she would just start screaming, and she would before even the guy told you the story, she
Mhm.
would tell you the story.
Oh wow.
She's like, I feel fire, people are burning, and there's a horse. And then the guy was like he's like, yeah, this is what happened, blah, and I was just like, boom,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel anything, so I do believe in it.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not sensitive to it.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting. And then before we get out of here, I usually like asking this question to my guests. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, either in your creative arena or in on a personal level?
Wow, that's actually a great question. Um, my goal is to tell stories to entertain, but also to comment, either with this movie as give an opportunity to diversity, and to other voices, and to actors, to
Yeah.
to express themselves. You know, but also, like, true stories, like I said, the domestic violence movie that we're working on, or this one about the Hellfire Club. So I think the legacy that I would like to leave is that I inspire change, right? That
Yeah.
by storytelling I can inspire change, and because my goal was to make documentaries while I was at USC.
Hmm.
However, I saw the documentaries are usually watched by people already seeking change. So I was like,
Hmm.
how can I, how can I get interest in people that are not seeking the change, right? They're not watching documentaries. So how can we embed those things in a narrative, right? So they're
Hmm.
entertained. For example, for me, one of the big movies that does that is Blood Diamond.
Oh yeah.
Um, so it's not about the diamonds. It's about a son. It's about a father trying to find his son who's been kidnapped by the militia, right? So it's about
Yeah.
that, what how far a father is going to go to save his child, right? So that's what the story is about. However, the world that is embedded in is in the Blood Diamond world. So I get to learn something that I didn't know, right? So
Exactly.
I think that's why that's what the type of stories. So that's what I want to be known by, somebody that created, stories where people that promoted change in one way or another.
Okay. Cool. That's really cool. And then again, thank you again for joining us. Before we get out of here, you want to let everybody know where they can stream, and then
Yeah.
the movie and all that.
So if you go to murderinthewoodsmovie.com, that's where you're going to see all the links to the theaters that we're going to be showcasing next Friday. We start next Friday. We're going to be hopefully a minimum of 2 weeks. Most of the theaters gave us a 2 week commitment. So we're going to be at least 2 weeks. So that way we're on the 23rd, and then the following weekend, which is the weekend of Halloween. But on our
Hmm.
website, you also have the links to the streaming sites, which is where Amazon, Vudu, Fandango, Google Play, iTunes, Kaleidoscope, um, Microsoft, Xbox, and also we're on the cable boxes on in demand. So we are on Spectrum, we are on Xfinity of Comcast. So we're pretty much everywhere.
Everywhere.
So yeah, but if you go to our website murderinthewoodsmovie.com, you'll have links to our social media, to all the links to where you can buy it now, or you can rent it. and also where you can buy tickets to go see it in the big screen. Because a movie like
Perfect.
this has to be seen in the big screen
I
because
agree.
horror is all about sound,
Yeah.
right? So it's all, about the experience and other people, getting scared. It's like comedy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you got to watch it with other people. Um,
Exactly.
so I think, that's why, we're going back into to the big screen, because it's a different experience. Any movie that you watch at home, even if you have a great, sound system, it's not the same as going to the movies. I'm a big believer in the movie theaters,
Yeah. Same
uh,
here.
just because you really disconnect from the world and you
Mhm.
can really immerse yourself in the story. So that's
Exactly.
what I enjoy about them.
Yeah, I agree. And even the people like that you're like surrounded by again, because it's like strangers and you're all coming together to watch this film, so it makes like the
Exactly,
experience better.
exactly.
Um, well, thank you again, Luis, for sitting here with me. I wish you a lot of success. I mean, it's doing good so far from what I've seen, like great reviews and everything. Hopefully, maybe I can interview you again when you drop another film.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so thank you again for your time and have
Thank
a
you,
good
Gabby, for
weekend.
having me. You too. Have a good weekend.
All right, bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.